Marvin Gayle Gray, the powerlifter, who confessed to 41 murders. Imagine a man built like a tank, capable of lifting incredible weight, but harboring a darkness so profound it consumed everything in its path. This is the story of Marvin Gayle Gray, a powerlifter who confessed to a staggering 41 murders, a claim that continues to haunt the annals of true crime. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Marvin Gayle Gray was born on August 7, 1954, in Princeton, Kentucky, the seventh of 10 children. His early life was marked by intense anxiety. He suffered from debilitating panic attacks starting at the tender age of 4. These attacks were initially treated with methamphetamines, a disturbing practice that highlights the medical landscape of the time. He found solace in the tobacco fields, drawn to the physical labor and the escape it provided. The panic attacks mysteriously ceased in 1965 after his father suffered a heart attack. However, this apparent reprieve masked a sinister transformation. His behavior took a sharp turn, marked by declining grades and a complete disregard for discipline. At the age of 12, Gray was arrested for theft and sent to a juvenile institution. This experience proved to be a crucible of cruelty. He endured horrific sexual violence and humiliation, experiences that would forever warp his psyche. The abuse he suffered ignited a firestorm of rage, hatred, cruelty, and callousness within him. The seeds of a monster were sown in the sterile, unforgiving environment of the juvenile institution. In 1968, Gray was expelled from school on his very first day for carrying weapons. This act of defiance signaled a complete rejection of societal norms and a descent into a life of crime. In 1970, Gray escalated his criminal activities, stealing a weapon and committing a series of thefts and attacks. His path was now firmly set on a trajectory of violence and lawlessness. In 1971, he was sentenced to 5 years in Kentucky State Prison, a notorious institution known as the Castle. It was here that he fully embraced a life of crime. Within the prison walls, Gray took up powerlifting, channeling his rage into physical strength. He also developed a tattoo addiction and embraced white supremacist ideology, further solidifying his identity as an outsider. Upon his release in 1975, Gray moved to Denver and found work at the O'Neill Hotel. But his attempts at a normal life were short-lived. The darkness within him was too strong to contain. In the summer of 1975, Gray and William Felder were arrested for assaulting police officer James Datzman. Datzman was investigating the murder of Joseph Didier, a case that would later become central to Gray's confessions. Gray and Felder opened fire on Datzman, a brazen act of violence that demonstrated their complete disregard for law enforcement. Gray was accused of theft and complicity and sentenced to 4 years. Felder received a much harsher sentence of 20 years. Ballistics evidence linked the bullets used in the assault on Datzman to Didier's murder, but no charges were brought against Gray at the time. In 1977, Gray was suspected in the murder of inmate David Cook, but again, he evaded prosecution. A pattern was emerging. Gray was surrounded by death, yet always managed to slip through the cracks. Released early in 1978, Gray met Sheila Olsbrook, and they had a son in 1979. However, his violent tendencies resurfaced, and he abused Olsbrook. The relationship ended with his arrest in 1979 for car theft. On March 16, 1980, Gray escaped prison with William Perdue and Jerry Keller. Their escape was short-lived and brutal. They hijacked a van, and Gray killed Keller, disposing of his body. He was rearrested in Denver, and traces of blood were found in the van, linking him to the crime. Gray was also suspected of killing Perdue, but Perdue's body was never found, adding another layer of mystery to Gray's already dark history. The disappearances and deaths seemed to follow him like a shadow. On August 11, 1982, Gray was rearrested after yet another escape. His ability to evade capture was almost supernatural. On September 1st, he murdered Jolene Sue Gardner in Denver. This murder would eventually lead to his conviction and a lengthy prison sentence. In 1984, Gray was convicted of Gardner's murder and sentenced to 16 years. It seemed that justice had finally caught up with him. In 1986, he was charged with raping a cellmate, but the investigation was terminated. Even behind bars, Gray continued to perpetrate acts of violence. On January 18, 1991, Gray was released on parole with strict conditions, but his freedom was short-lived. He violated his parole by traveling to Kentucky, a clear indication of his inability to abide by the law. In 1992, Gray was rearrested for burglary and sentenced to life imprisonment. This time, it seemed, he would remain behind bars for good. Despite his incarceration, Gray continued powerlifting, achieving impressive records within the prison system. He channeled his aggression into physical strength, becoming a formidable figure. In November 1992, he was charged with the murder of inmate Daniel Green, but he was never convicted. The shadow of suspicion continued to follow him. On July 19, 1993, Gray beat and raped his cellmate, Gary Hilton. His capacity for violence seemed boundless. He committed another rape against James Mervyn, further solidifying his reputation as a dangerous and uncontrollable inmate. Gray was eventually transferred to Colorado State Penitentiary, a high-security facility designed to house the most dangerous criminals. In 2000, Gray began confessing to a series of murders, claiming responsibility for a staggering number of deaths across multiple states. By December 22, 2000, he had confessed to 23 murders. The sheer scale of his alleged crimes was shocking. He even threatened to kill his lawyers, demonstrating his volatile and unpredictable nature. By March 2001, he had confessed to 31 murders. The details he provided were often chilling and graphic. He admitted to his first murder in 1971, claiming that his life of violence began much earlier than previously believed. He confessed to killing Joseph Didier, the murder that police officer James Datzman was investigating back in 1975. He claimed to have killed 7 people while he was with Sheila Olsbrook, painting a picture of a life steeped in violence and depravity. He claimed responsibility for the disappearance of William Perdue, the fellow inmate who escaped with him in 1980. He confessed to a murder in Indiana in 1982, expanding the geographical scope of his alleged crimes. He alleged that he committed the most murders in 1991, suggesting a peak in his violent activity. He described the murder of a young man in San Francisco, providing details that seemed to lend credibility to his claims. He confessed to the murder of Daniel Green, the inmate he was previously charged with killing. Despite his numerous confessions, Gray was only charged with the murders of Didier and Solis. The vast majority of his claims remained unproven. The FBI launched an investigation into Gray's confessions, but their credibility was quickly questioned. Some of his confessions contained detailed evidence that seemed to corroborate his claims. He even underwent a polygraph test, which confirmed some of his confessions, but the results were later invalidated. There were discrepancies in dates, locations, and seasons, casting doubt on the accuracy of his memory. His confessions often reflected a bad memory, making it difficult to verify his claims. Prison psychologist George Levy attributed Gray's confessions to social deprivation, suggesting that he was seeking attention and validation. A forensic medical examination revealed that Gray suffered from antisocial personality disorder, a condition characterized by a lack of empathy and a disregard for the rights of others. In June 2002, Gray confessed to killing 5 women in Princeton, his hometown. He requested a transfer to Princeton to show investigators the burial sites of his victims. The true scale of his crimes remains unknown, shrouded in a web of confessions, inconsistencies, and unanswered questions. Marvin Gayle Gray died on July 19, 2013, from heart failure in Colorado State Penitentiary. His death brought an end to the nightmare he had inflicted on so many. The question remains, how many lives did Marvin Gayle Gray truly take? Was he a serial killer of unprecedented scale, or a disturbed individual seeking notoriety? The truth, like Gray himself, remains locked away, a chilling enigma in the dark corners of true crime history. If you found this video disturbing and insightful, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the darkest corners of true crime. Share this video with others who are fascinated by the psychology of serial killers. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on Marvin Gayle Gray and the credibility of his confessions. Consider supporting our channel through Patreon to help us continue bringing you these in-depth investigations.